The fantastic, the amazing Mark Wilbur. Hello, how are you? This is our show. This
Hey,
is
Justin, how's it going?
Reactor.
With the tongue trill. All right.
Oh, that's actually trill. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
A trill. That's
I
good to
think
have
so.
it's good to have a
Yeah.
word for it. I just thought it was like just an effect.
I don't know. Either way. So, yeah, it's been quite a week for you, I guess.
Quite a week. Having
Yeah.
lots of fun discussions with Justin Jackson.
Oh, yeah. Your podcast you did with him. I don't remember if that was before our last episode or not. I think maybe
Uh
not.
no, it was in between the last show, yeah.
Yeah, because I mentioned those two Twitter links on the last show.
Exactly, it's
Then
because of
you
you.
then you checked his Twitter link, and then
Yeah.
you got to chatting, and then a podcast happened, which is amazing.
It is amazing. So thank you very much for that. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah,
That's an awesome sort of Lux surface area type of situation.
I was
Appreciate it.
thrilled with the result of it. That was a pretty good episode. So this is episode 333 of Techzing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I thought it was neat because you just kind of jumped right into it. Like there was no preamble. There was no, this is Justin. He's from Canada. He
Yeah,
likes, hard
right.
music. It was just, right into the topic, talking
Yeah,
about um, the importance of a market versus building an audience first. And I thought it was a pretty good one.
it was good.
So
I mean, I was honestly, even after the show had ended, I was trying to work out like, what am I actually arguing with him about? Like, why do I feel some level of discomfort in my stomach that I'm continuing to argue? Because we continued to like slack back and forth after that discussion. And it was like, I'm just trying to understand, like, why am I, what am I feeling here?
yeah, I think it's because both of you have been doing bootstrappy kinds of things for a long time, and you've really struggled at times, like really slogged through a lot. So you both care about it a lot. And then you have slightly different definitions of the same words, including things like audience, which is the core of the whole thing you were talking about.
Right. Yeah. I think that is true. And I do think that. And I think something else is I'm really concerned with repeatable first principles.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about the first principles of indie hacking, like what are the lowest atomic things that you need to know about? That is not one of them. And so I'm really interested in getting people from 0 to 1. And I know 110% that I had no fucking clue about market demand when I built Plugio, and that was
Yeah.
not a first principle.
Well, there's a famous book by that title.
Yeah, Thiel. Yeah, right. Peter Thiel. Yeah,
Teal, yeah. I
yeah. Oh,
actually
Thiel.
got the pre-release version of it.
Hmm.
Got it signed by both the authors, which is kind of
Really?
cool. This was
Okay.
like back before they were that famous. Um, but one of the things in that book, though, was the idea that there is there is no clear path because any business success, obviously they're thinking of like huge successes,
Yeah.
is going to be unique. So like if you were, just scouring the internet looking for the next e-commerce opportunity, you would have missed Google. If you were looking for the next Google, you'd miss Facebook and so on. And it was like the opposite of the Anna Karenina quote. Instead of
Yeah.
all happy families are the same and the unhappy ones are unhappy in their own special way. That book said it's all unsuccessful startups are the same, and the successful ones are successful in their own unique way.
That's interesting. I
Yeah,
mean,
but I mean, I think that's a really insightful book. Like it's one of the few I've read where it genuinely brought some new ideas to the table for me. But it's like aimed at the opposite of bootstrappers.
but it's not bad advice. I mean, it's very good advice to say understand market demand. Like it is
Yeah,
it's extremely good advice. But like I say, most of the people who I know, including Justin Jackson, didn't understand market demand when they were building the initial part of their success. It's just it's it's extremely good advice, and it's also not, you know, needed at the beginning. So that's my conundrum with it. Maybe part of it is the way that it's said, not Justin Jackson, just Twitter. So like
Twitter.
the way that advice is presented by someone like Justin Jackson or me or anyone on Twitter, it's like a kind of like, hear ye, hear ye. It's like a town crier saying, hear ye, thou shalt understand market demand, you know, and if thou
Yeah.
does not understand it, thou shalt be chopped from nape to chops. You
Well,
know,
and also I think like almost any advice, we take it out of context, could
it's
be
out of
wrong
context. It's
in
completely
certain
out of context.
situations.
Yeah.
And so it's really crucial to think about like what was the other person's, or what was the speaker's frame of reference when they were saying that? Like what was their situation?
Irony, Justin Jackson has a fantastic video that explains very clearly about that, with a drawing of someone going up the mountain, and like really explains
Oh, okay.
context, you know, like that probably one of the first videos that I saw a long time ago, that made me start really thinking about context. So it's ironic then that this tweet, which is sort of just in a specific context, so what it makes me think is advice on the internet really useful unless it's a first principle thing? Unless you say something so let's think about some first principle indie
Yeah,
hacker.
I think there's all kinds of useful advice. It's not a first principle thing.
Oh, okay.
And the first
Let,
principle things are going to be way harder to apply
all right. Yeah. Okay.
because you're working up from the ground up.
Okay.
So, I mean, first principle things, you might be talking about like math or economics or like core things about human psychology.
Yeah.
And
So
you
basically,
can build up from that for sure.
people have to, I mean, at the end of the day, people have to want what you're making.
Yeah.
That's the first principle.
Yeah. So here's like a very non first principle piece of advice that I think helped a lot of entrepreneurs a couple years ago.
Go on.
And that was like, you know, Facebook groups are exploding right now. They want people in groups. Just make a group, start doing your stuff there, and the algorithm will help you and bring more people to it. And like that is so specific and not even remotely first principle, but
Yeah.
it helped a lot of people.
You know what? I love that you just changed my mind. But by the way, this is another thing why I might be have enjoyed an argument with Justin Jackson. I feel like he doesn't change his mind too much. He kind of like sets his mind on something and then is like, it takes him a long time to move off that position. And somehow that's almost like bait, makes me kind of want to argue to make someone change their position. But you just changed my position right there.
Wow.
Like,
All right.
you're like, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, that is a very good point. So thank you.
And you could do the same for me if you knock it out of the park with your Roblox game. That will change my mind about the opportunity there.
Look, the thing is that I don't care very much. The only thing I care about is that it makes its money back. So the
Yeah.
money that I've invested in the dev, as long as I don't lose that, the only thing I care about is what my wife thinks. Pretty much.
Fair enough.
Happy wife, happy life. Now,
Yeah.
if I release that and it goes nowhere and makes no money, then there will be an unhappy wife and an unhappy life. So I just need to make sure that it covers the initial investment, and then we're good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've got to have at least some percentage of your portfolio of bets paying off.
That's true. It's true. Well, no, you know what? So in the discussion with Justin Jackson, I was sort of talking through Nugget with him on Slack, and really made me realize Nugget is actually very good. You know, sometimes you sort of like need to remind yourself about the thing that you've been working on for the last 4 years. Oh, that is really good. Actually, the only issue is I just haven't really marketed it yet. You know, like, yeah, I just haven't done any marketing. That's the only issue.
Yeah, I think also part of it's just like clarity on what you want from it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, is it just a pro-social thing, or is income a significant concern, or is, you know, growing your network a bigger concern? You know, it's like, what do you want out of it exactly? And I think if you focus on one, you'll make a lot of progress on it.
Income's always a concern, but it's just discussions with Justin Jackson kind of forced me to think about the numbers, like how they stack up, and
Hmm.
they stack up very well. You know, like the way that, because one thing that I did with Nuggio,
There you go. Very similar in a lot of ways.
one thing
Two
that I did,
projects that have made you money that you kind of just were like, I don't know. I'm just going to put this on the back burner.
yeah. Oh man, that Nuggio thing made me lose my train of thought there.
You're saying you had to look at the numbers. You
No,
gotten a
what
lot
was
of
it?
signups recently.
Um, um, Forgotten it. Sorry.
You said the
It was a
conversation
really good
with
point, but
Justin made you really look at the numbers for Nugget, see what
yeah.
the opportunity was.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, I was talking about what's your focus? Is it the
Yeah.
network? Is it the money? Is it
Mm-hmm.
helping the entrepreneurs? Okay, we'll just go somewhere else then. Um, Let me give my goals update
Yeah, go on then.
since we're
That's it.
already a bit into the podcast.
Yeah.
So health wise, I have stayed stable.
Wait.
Yeah.
That's not going to pull out of the nugget thing well, because I was really in the middle of a sentence. So
Okay.
let me just wrap up the
Yeah.
nugget
Yeah.
thing
Go
so
for
that
it.
it makes it easy for this transition. So so long story short, I do think that nugget is something that I know I'm already working on, and that I do know I need to pay attention to, and I think there is a good financial opportunity there as well. So I'm going to be thinking a little bit more about that, because that's what I was already thinking about, but now it's sort of made me double down on that aspect of it. So, hey,
Cool.
tell me about your goals.
All right. So, uh, first one was health. I fasted one day, and my goal was 1 to 3, so that's fine.
Nice. Okay, good.
In terms of waist size, stayed steady.
Uh-oh.
Feeling a little bit better though. Like I did a 5 mile run this morning, totally fasted, and just felt totally fine. Like the fasting didn't affect it at all. So I do think there's decent progress there. I'm going to try to fast 2 days next week.
Okay.
This new microphone, which I don't know if you can see here, but
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
pretty cool.
mounted on an arm and stuff. This has been a pretty good investment so far. I recorded a video on Alchemist Camp specifically about the mic. It was just like, hey, like, what do you think of this new thing? I put
Yeah.
it on a stand first because it comes with a little stand, and then I set it up like this and compared it to the Yeti, and I
Hmm.
got several comments on the video and on Twitter, including like, I thought the Blue Yeti was great until I heard this. So I think it's
Nice.
been a very good buy, and it was only like $100 on Amazon. So
Well, I really
happy with
like
that.
that. So,
Is it,
one question:
yep.
are you going to start using the audio from that mic for these shows?
I am right now. Yeah.
No, I mean instead of the Zoom audio.
The Zoom audio is coming from this mic.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the locally recorded audio. Are you going to start using that, like, so that it's the purest form of the audio?
Probably not, because
Oh,
that's a lot more work.
okay, got it.
That involves like putting 2 audio files on a video and lining them up, and
Okay,
it's like 5 times more time to edit. But I think we should hear some improvement,
yeah.
considerable improvement, just because this mic is so much closer to me now. So you shouldn't be able to hear my air conditioner
But I think
or my
like
refrigerator or stuff like that.
for an ultimate sound quality improvement for our audio show, we should probably start doing the double ender um, from our local audio files. But maybe we can do that at some point in the future. We can like
Yeah.
get someone to retrospectively do it or
Yeah.
edit it.
Well, so let's keep all the audio files
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Um, let's
Okay.
see. The what was I going to say? Yeah, so it's a Samson Q2U microphone. I had tried to get the Audio Technica AT or ATR 2100 that Ben Ornstein recommended. It's not on sale anymore. It's been discontinued. They have a newer one that costs like 50% more, and the comments on Amazon are just kind of like, it's not really worth it. But this one was recommended as the best alternative number of places. And Justin Jackson is actually one of the people who recommended it on his Transistor page. Like, his getting started, this was the recommended starter mic.
Oh, nice.
So
Okay.
It's let me record more video than I have been previously, because I don't have to stop every time my air conditioner starts. So
Oh, that's
I've
cool.
actually gotten 3 videos published this week, which is pretty good for me.
That's very cool.
Let's see, Phoenix Igniter. I have more pressure to work on.
Good.
I have a customer that's like, hey, so like, when are you pushing up some more code to this?
Yeah.
So yeah, get that. Oh, and I've had some bug fixes in Alchemist Camp. Someone discovered an Easter egg I put in it, and the code for the Easter egg is broken by something else I had changed. So he's like, I
Oh.
found this amazing thing, and I think I finished the quest, but I didn't get the reward. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
oh, I'm really glad you mentioned reward. Do you mind if I talk like
yeah. How about
yeah.
it?
So with the boot camp, I've had like 267 people start the boot camp now.
Wow.
And I'm just getting started with them. And this is what I was thinking about the marketing as well. Like I'm just getting started. Like I know that I can get, thousands of people through this. But this is just that's where I was with my train of thought where we lost it was
Getting them through the boot camp.
why can't I shit. This is that I've never had that before. It's like every time I think about it, it's like it evaporates. That's really
Wow.
weird.
Wow. Probably sleep deprivation.
Yeah, I have had sleep deprivation, but basically, what I've been thinking about with the boot camp right here is I can get a really clear picture of the funnel and where they're stopping and sort of not continuing, but also the fact that it's not generating the sales that I wanted it to. So I've had 2 sales from 267 people. So that needs to be better. So basically, what I was thinking of doing was just based off what you were just saying there. You were saying like a quest, an Easter egg.
Yeah.
I was really thinking of gamifying it, like somehow making it so that getting to the next page, there was some game about it. Like I don't know what the game is,
Interesting.
but like I don't know. Like
So Nugget itself is already fairly gamified, just to
yeah.
keep people moving along.
Hmm.
Is the boot camp like that or not?
The boot camp has it's not the same. So I
Is there
think
like a
that
progress marker and something like that?
there is a progress marker, the same progress marker, but the boot camp lessons are much longer. They're sort of multiple points per lesson, whereas the Nugget lessons are just 1 point per lesson. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is they're longer. And the other thing is, I don't know, maybe it's just harder for people. I think it's just like might need to be chunked out more. That's
It
a
might be
separate
too
issue.
long.
Yeah, it might be too long. But
Yeah.
what could be a thing? Like, what could be could there be like I don't know, like a quiz on every page? Did you finish it? Do you know it and click a few radio buttons and then win a
I
special
think
character? Or I mean, I don't know.
win something. Yeah.
Win
I
something. Yes, win something. Every page, if you click next, you win something.
Or you just give people points for the quiz, maybe.
What about if you get a sticker? Like just true gamification, like
Yeah.
click next to collect your stickers.
I don't know.
A
I think it's
certification. A certification per page.
that's yeah. You could do that. I don't know. If it were me, I would be a little bit. I would be a little bit put off by that, just because I want to like go through and get the material, and it might be a little too overt. But if it's something like points, I'm just like, oh, okay, fine. But then you kind of still want them, just like Hacker News Karma.
The other thing is the idea of putting the Academy sales page at the very end
Mm-hmm.
is probably not very sensible. Because if you look at the way the Roblox games work, the majority of the money comes from people being able to buy their way into success.
Mm-hmm.
So they can basically just unlock stuff. without having to play the game. So maybe that's what you want to do with the boot camp. It's like, okay, buy the academy now. You know.
Yeah. So one thought is, so your boot camp is, it's just like a smaller free version of Nugget itself. So
In
when
some ways, not exactly.
previously people going to Nugget were pre-selected because they were expecting it to cost some money.
Yeah, yeah,
And so
that's
there's
true.
no
Yes.
surprise there. But if you go to a free boot camp and you have no idea there's this paid thing, and then you finish it and there's immediately a paid thing, that might be a tougher sell. Whereas maybe if you know there's a paid thing or there's an extension, and then you get a discount on that when you get to the end of the boot camp, then that might be a lot more appealing.
Yes, and the thing is that the emailing list for Nugget has a 2.5% conversion ratio previously.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that, that's not particularly great. I mean, that's just from a completely cold emailing list. But the point is the website and people going through the boot camp should have at least 2.5% conversion ratio, if not more. So there should be 5 people who've bought it at this point, not 2.
I don't know. I mean, where'd the email list come from?
Just people coming in from ideas or blog posts or whatever. Just product hunt stuff, like, yeah, just random stuff.
Because I think if the email list was from people that knew you were selling something, they might actually convert better because
Oh, for
there's
sure.
that
Yeah,
expectation.
for
Whereas
sure. But they
if
didn't. It wasn't that.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really hard to say. I think my conversions are probably similar to that. To be honest,
Yeah.
I think trying to think how
2.5. How big your mailing list? How big?
ish. Let's
How big?
see. I've had about 3,000, 3,500 people go through my email list, and
Yeah.
maybe, yeah, I think that's close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's sort of what you expect. So a 1%, like I'm dealing with like a one slightly less than 1%. That's something's not right. Like that, something's definitely not right about the way that it's put together, and that's
Mhm.
fine. That gives me, that just gives me something to work on over the next couple of weeks to tweak that while I'm also working on the Roblox game.
I would be inclined to tweak it so they know the existence of the paid thing. They know it's
Hmm.
a bigger thing, and then it's not as jarring when they see it at the end.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
yeah.
That's enough. We don't need to talk about my stuff too much. So, what else is going on with you then?
Let's see. Other than the bug fixing, I've been a little bit disappointed about GitLab's changes in their CI/CD pricing.
Okay.
Have you heard anyone talk about this? Or
No, but I'd love to hear it. Tell me.
okay, so I switched on to GitLab CI/CD maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, because it was an amazing value, really. And in fact, I have a lot of my stuff on GitLab because they had that before before GitHub added, what was it, like actions or whatever it is. But they have just reduced the number of CI/CD hours for the second time. So I forgot what it was at before. I think it was like 2,000 hours a month or something, and then it got decreased, and now I believe it's 20 hours a month. I may be wrong on all of these numbers, but the CI/CD free hours. I'm just gonna Google it right now. Oh, sorry, it's 2,000 minutes is what you have now. So it's to the point where I'm okay with my current projects, but now I'm kind of thinking about deploying. It's like I've got some patch or something I've fixed with like that little gamification side quest I mentioned on Alchemist Camp, or I want to update some copy, or I'm going to update Phoenix Igniter. Every single one of those is in the same organization on GitLab, and they all draw from the same CI/CD hours.
Hmm.
So it's making me think like, do I want to just not use their CI/CD and run tests locally, and then deploy using my old process, which which was directly from my machine using a tool called eDeliver. I don't know. It feels like the reduction's a bit much, and it's really going to be bad for any projects in Rust if I, decide I need CI/CD for any of them, because Rust takes longer to compile and build.
What does the CD part mean of the CI?
Continuous deployment.
A Nugget guy built Fire CI, which basically is local Docker, which is a local Docker based CI thing.
Yeah.
Maybe you could use that. I mean, I saw it.
I'd have
and
to
it was
look at
very
it.
slick,
I
very slick.
have a fairly special setup, partially due to using Elixir, but
Yeah,
I could check it out. I
yeah,
mean, basically, the way it works for me now is if I push any branch to GitLab, it runs my tests. And if the branch that I pushed or merged is master and all the tests pass, it automatically deploys.
yeah,
And the way it runs the tests is inside a Docker container, which is fairly standard. The
yeah.
way it deploys is a little bit unique to my setup. It does build the project in a Docker container.
Okay.
However, I've given that Docker container the ability to SSH into my server, and it deploys it using that tool, eDeliver, because I'm not Dockerizing the server.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's basically, and also it doesn't even destroy the state on the server, because one thing Elixir can do is upgrade without destroying any state. You just you don't even stop the server.
So, Elixir.
Yes.
Third time I've moved.
We had to move. Yes, I've edited out the first move though.
Okay.
So yeah, when I deploy, I don't even stop the server all the time, because one thing you can do with Elixir or Erlang is you can deploy an upgrade where everything just keeps running and it upgrades, which means you don't even need a load balancer because you don't have any downtime. And most people don't deploy that way, but just out of interest, seeing how it works, and also the fact that if I do this, I don't need a load balancer, I set it up that way. So I'm not Dockerizing everything on the server. I'm just building in a Dockerized environment and deploying from that temporary environment to the server.
Yeah.
And the way it's set up, it's a great workflow, because I don't even have to think about any of that. I just push my code to GitLab, and if all the tests pass, then it's updated.
Well, I have no tests. Every time I have no tests. Every time I check in, all my live servers just instantly pull directly from the production live branch. This is for Nugget and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously not for my Monteacher or TrueSpace. That's completely different. But for Nugget, it just no tests. If I check in a mistake, it's going to break everything. It's just
I think I told you about my buddy Paul, right?
Mm-hmm.
The nutrition site Baron.
Yeah.
It's my friend I met in Beijing, and he was working on this nutrition site. He wasn't making enough money to live in the US really, but then he just scaled the traffic up and up and up.
Mm-hmm.
He was scraping information from the USRDA.
Yeah, you talking about that
database. Yeah. He went to San Francisco because he built it up to 1.5 million uniques a month, and it was last I talked to him, which was a while ago, at least about his site. He was making $50K a month.
Yeah.
His DevOps or his deployment procedure was open up a file with FileZilla, edit it in something, I think Notepad++, and then just drag it back into the FTP app, and it would just be sent back to the server and overwrite what was there. Just drag a PHP file, boom, update it. And if there's a mistake, then he sometimes had a copy of a backup or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I find about that, I don't know what you call it. It's I guess you'd call it suicide deployment. Okay, so it's like a suicide deployment methodology. But one thing is, it really makes you look hard at the code, really think about it in a way that I don't with my other code. In the same, I mean, obviously, I don't want to sound bad for my work. Obviously, I do think about code or whatever, but there's tests to double check it.
Yeah.
Like, and it actually makes me end up refactoring code and making better code because there's such a high stakes process. It's like, okay, yeah, really, yeah, that will do
I
that.
used to deploy that way too before I could program really, and I was just like running a WordPress
Before you
blog.
could program.
Yeah, well, because I had a
Nice.
WordPress blog and it was on a shared host, and so the whole way I did anything was just dragging files to and out of
Did
an
you used
FTP
to do
program.
the WordPress programming where you'd program with arrays?
No, I wasn't really programming. I was updating the CSS on my blog. I
Mm.
learned that. Like that was a big thing I learned from programming or from the blog. I did make a couple super simple JavaScript widgets that did text conversion because I learned about regular expressions before I knew what uh, JavaScript prototype was or like anything like that. Um, then on the PHP side, I think the only PHP I learned was include, and that was pretty useful.
Remember when JavaScript, this is going to sound funny, but I remember when JavaScript was like first coming out and programmers, serious programmers didn't like it. They didn't like it. It was too democratizing of just coding. It just gave the ability for anyone to build stuff.
They didn't like it when I was like when I was in the Bay Area, like 2014 or something. I interviewed with a company that went really well, and then they were like, well, but if you want to like not be siloed into only front end roles, you need to do this interview again with like a real language instead of a scripting language.
Wow. Which is
Yes.
hilarious. I mean, it's
Um,
hilarious because I feel like JavaScript is gradually, moving to a point of eating everyone's lunch over time.
I think a lot of that was from Java people, the people that were super into OO for everything, like the people living in the kingdom of nouns, as Steve Yagi called it. And to people like that, a language that doesn't have types, and there's a lot of stuff with JavaScript that's not ideal. Like it doesn't have integers. There's anything of the wrong type gets converted automatically.
The time function doesn't actually track real time.
Yeah, like there's a lot of cruft that's been, other than the numbers, it's mostly been fixed with like libraries or TypeScript or things like that. But it's, yeah, I kind of get why those OO programmers hated it, and it was also used for just really trivial stuff.
Hmm.
But I think it was like when I was there, like 2013 through 2015 is kind of when that changed.
Oh yeah,
Like
there
that's
was
when
major stuff happening then. Yeah, for sure.
that's when all of a sudden it was like, well, no, we have like one back end engineer and like 5 front end engineers because that's where all the code is.
Mhm. I think the perfect architecture now for me, I mean, obviously you're doing something completely different, like it's just all live view type stuff. But for me, it's a, like a scripting, like a PHP or a Ruby,
Hmm.
doing one page for main core logic, and then one JavaScript library that's like a centralized sort of theoretical single page web app, but it isn't really. It's
Uh-huh.
like it's just like it's the same library that's loaded on every page, but it does a bunch of stuff on screen, so it's very responsive. But you
So
just
you
kind of you're
so you
going,
mean you're doing you've got a JavaScript front end library, but
yeah.
you're doing the routing on the back end.
Yeah, basically, that's what I do
Yeah.
because it just makes it so much easier to work on a page by page basis. And then what I do, and this is weird, is I'll put inline JavaScript on every page until it's on more than one page, and then that move it to the library. So that way I can just sort of pop out the whole website into existence, use the JavaScript, make it very very reactive, and then I don't really need to. It's all sort of
I
encapsulated per
think,
page.
yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable. I'm actually interested in doing some bigger projects with live view at some point, but I'm not now. I mean, the way I usually develop is JavaScript with sprinkles. I mean, I've done like the full stack JavaScript like Nuxt or something like that, where it's a single page app, but it's also server side rendered, so you don't wreck your SEO. But I think for most stuff, just server rendered is
Single
fine,
page
and I think the performance is actually better in a lot of cases.
better.
Like Indie Hackers had super slow loading
Yeah.
because it had such a big bundle it was sending over. So I think that's fine. If you're making something that's hyper immersive, and maybe you do want the routing all on the front end, but for a content site, I don't think you do.
Yeah, no, I mean, Plugio was single page web app, and the routing side of things was complicated because there wasn't any built-in history management library for that type of thing.
I think
it was complicated.
I think a really big difference with me, and it sounds like maybe with you too, from how a lot of entrepreneurs on Indie Hackers are working, is I'm really okay with something that's the 90% solution, because I know that I'm just one person. It's not like a team of 5 engineers and a designer working separately. So I'm not going to use the same practices they would. I'm not going to, have as complex of DevOps or as much testing or, as much going on the front end either.
What do you think of no code?
I think it's a marketing term, basically. I've
But
I've had
the websites. I mean, bubble.is is no code.
Yeah, but I think in a very real way, so is Excel, so is WordPress. Like, I don't think no code is a new thing. I think it's just a new term that has caught on like wildfire, because the term has become a way for people to find each other and organize online and start sharing what works for them. But I like fundamentally, I don't think there's anything different in kind about Bubble. Maybe different degree, but
It looks the same as exactly the same as FileMaker Pro did in 1996.
Yeah, this is something that's been going on a long time.
Yeah. So a lot of people think. Sorry, I keep on interrupting you.
No, I haven't.
A lot of people think that that no code is going to be like the future, But anytime I work with someone with no code in Nugget, and they sort of get to a certain point, and I'm like, yeah, what are you going to do now? Like you're fucked if you want anything like remotely unique, or if you want to add value in a different kind of way. Like, you've got to stick within those rails.
I've seen that happen, and also I've seen it get really expensive because if you're going serverless, and this is true even with people who do code, it doesn't mean there's no server. It just means it's not your server, and so you're relying on a whole bunch of third-party services, and they usually cost money, and it adds up. But I think no code is advancing, and so is what you can do with code. So I think there'll be more and more sites that you would have needed to be a programmer, say 5 or 10 years ago, to make, that you can make without being a programmer now. But the tools for programmers are also getting better. So I think everyone's productivity is getting better. And
it's like the general case. So like a Twitter is a general case. So we can make that on a no code. Essentially, no code really is just what Jason Roberts was trying to build, like an app Ignite. Like,
sort of, yeah.
So basically, it's just pre-baked stuff is what it is. Pre-baked functionality.
Yeah, I think he was making something for programmers, but yeah, like, we've seen so much of that with WordPress. Like, there's so many businesses that are purely online that are made with WordPress and a number of premium plugins that look kind of like a Laravel app might, or something that you hired engineers to make, except you can't customize it as easily. And your data is, instead of being in your database, you've got your data inside dashboards of a whole bunch of other services.
Drupal used to be so big. And
yeah,
it still is kind of big if you're a government website or something like that, somehow it's become the de facto for those kind of things.
So back in my WordPress days, I tried to make like a more interesting site with Drupal because I knew it was more powerful, but it was actually too difficult for me.
Yeah.
And I think at that time I was maybe a 25% coder.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not, I don't dislike the idea of no code or anything. Like I think for a lot of people, it may be the best way to get started. Like if you don't program and you have like a job and you're busy and you don't have that much time to program on the side, but you have something you really want to make, then it's way better to get started and make like some proof of concept. And then maybe, proof of concept and some people that are interested in it, maybe you can get a programmer to help you. Whereas if you just, go to a bunch of tech meetups and you're like, I have a cool idea and that's it. Like no one that you want to work with is going to want to work with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So, yeah, that's no code. What else we got?
kind of related to that. I do you feel like the space of opportunities is getting more crowded and more people are working on the same apps?
In a way, that's kind of a good thing because if people are working on the same apps,
Mm-hmm.
and then that means that it's validating that market need, as Justin Jackson would say. So you're sort of seeing that there's a need, and especially if people are buying it, so then you can look on Indie Hackers and you can see people are making revenue with those types of apps. It makes it easier for you as a founder to go in and sort of, if you think about market like Photoshop layers,
Mm-hmm.
or Blender layers or something, you've just got to find your unique way in. So the answer is yes, and I think that's probably a good thing.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, there was someone I saw on Indie Hackers wrote that they had just made 4K a month on their project, and the thing that was interesting about it is they bought some source of proprietary data. So they were spending like $1,000 a month on that, and they were finding out like what companies needed, and their whole service. I mean, it was a newsletter, and it was basically like, here are some SaaS ideas, $19 a month. So it's actually very much like the original Nugget.
Yeah, that is 100% like Nugget. Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing I was thinking about this is like, one, it's really cool. This person like ramped from 0 up to 4K a month in just 2 months. But two, like the more popular this thing gets, the more people that are going to be all trying to build the same SaaSes.
Well, yeah. I mean, but that's not exactly the way that I mean, having gone through that cycle, I mean, what he's going to learn is pretty quick that the churn is super high. It doesn't even matter the price point.
Okay.
So like I tried at $49 a month, I tried at $19 a month. It was exactly the same churn, no difference. And the reason why Nugget has evolved in the direction that it has is because I wanted to talk to customers and I wanted to find out, hey, what did you do? How is it going?
How did it go? Oh,
Yeah.
right.
And then when you find out that no one's getting anywhere, then it's like, oh, no one's getting anywhere. And it's sort of like, these guys actually need training, not ideas. Ideas doesn't help them in the slightest. So that was how that whole thing began for me.
That makes sense. Yeah. It is a tough one. I have all kinds of thoughts about this. Like I am definitely getting more and more tempted to start working on a SaaS instead of just either one-off or stuff I have to put all my time into. And it doesn't mean I'm quitting anything I'm working on. I'm still gonna, I'm still gonna get.
Well, I think that this is where I think that Justin Jackson has a really good point. Is that the build audience first type of thing is very relevant for the kind of stuff that you're doing, but for SaaS, it is much more about understanding jobs to be done and, you know, what's useful, you know, like market demand. I do agree, but like that is the level, that's level 4 indie founder level up game. So
Yeah. Also, I think like building, like if your competitive advantage is software, maybe it makes sense to spend more time writing software instead of instead of content.
well, I don't know about that.
Okay.
I mean, because at the end of the day, you need you need to get people from somewhere. So it's going to be SEO, you're going to pay for it, or you're going to grab them through content marketing. Those are your only 3 channels.
SEO, pay for it, content marketing. How about engineering as marketing?
So, oh yeah, 4. You see, change my mind all the time. Thank you. So
Okay.
yeah, so basically integration marketing, something like that. Yeah, but that's kind of SEO. So it's essentially automated traffic. You know.
Yeah. I think if you make a really interesting widget, or you make some open source software that a lot of people use. I know Formidable Labs did that for a while. Like they
Yeah.
they made stylus, and they made a whole bunch of JavaScript open source stuff.
Hmm.
And I bet that got them a lot of clients. Now they weren't really a product company, but it did seem to be their way in.
There's a lot of ways. I was thinking about this. Like, I mean, I haven't even started really with the boot camp, and already 250 people have gone through it. So or started it. So there is a lot of ways to just get people to your stuff if you just do it. It's just basically the grind is the problem. It's just like,
I think there's a
okay,
lot of truth in that.
I got to do some more grind to this fucking marketing stuff, you know?
Yeah, yeah. That's. I think that's honestly. I think the sustained effort is the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Once
Sustained.
it's once it's like already you've well once you've already had a big launch, or you're just like kind of settled into a thing where you're making progress.
But Gabriel Weinberg has done a few things like that are like step functions. It's like the rocket going in when Luke Skywalker blows up the Death Star. It's like the one rocket going into the hole, and then it's a chain reaction, blows up the whole Death Star.
I saw your tweet about that. I didn't know that was Gabriel Weinberg.
No, that tweet was that tweet was just me looking for opportunities like that. I think that it's good to look for opportunities like that. And Gabriel Weinberg, for example, you know, when he sort of kept on, I guess, pushing, keeping communication open, and then finally became one of the default, you know, one of the options in the iPhone as a search
Hmm.
engine. You know, that's like a step function when something like that happens. That's like blowing up a Death Star, you know? It like so that those kind of marketing things are very interesting to me. It's like what can you do that is just like gonna blow the shit out of everything? Just take you to a whole new level. And so, yeah, go on, what you say?
Oh no, I just had a twitch. That's all.
I mean, I would honestly like every developer to go through the boot camp. And
Every developer.
there's 20 million of them. So how do I reach 20 million developers? That's what I want to know. That's what I'm sort of thinking in the back of my mind.
Yeah. Well, get featured on the front page of GitHub, maybe. I don't know.
You're sort of
Yeah.
spending a lot of effort on a single event, but at the same time, it could pay off. It could be like a,
It could, and
yeah,
that's why it like sucks all your productivity out of everything else you're
yeah.
doing.
Okay, so what do you? I didn't really talk about my goals, but I think my goals was just to bounce to exercise every day, which I've mainly done apart from the last couple of days. I'm up to 20 minutes exercising each session. Um, I just missed, yeah, I missed 2 days in the last week. And I did follow your advice, even though last episode I said I wouldn't. I took a rest specifically because it was, yeah, it was too much. So I took,
Yeah. Well, I gave you easy advice to follow.
yeah, yeah,
Like take a
that's true.
break.
Take a break. So you know, let's just say five days of exercise between now and then. I think that's probably good. 5 days a week. Um,
That's really
and,
good. Yeah.
and just more progress on slider. Getting he's the dev started to build the UI stuff, which is good. The sort of the it shows the game score and like being able to choose different challenges and stuff. And I've started building so with Roblox, there's a server side and there's a front end. And
Hmm.
so what's interesting is the server side runs the full game. So if a guy's running around these little sliders and earning experience points, you can't do that on the client side because basically script kiddies can get in there and hack it.
Right, right.
So you need to do all that stuff on the back end. So I'm just beginning to learn about that and do that. That's sort of probably what one of my main things is going to be this week. It's
How
just
about the dev that's working on it? Does he know how that works or not?
no, he's not. He's more of a builder than a coder.
Oh, okay.
He is a coder, but he's more of a builder. Um, so yeah, so just back end stuff, just to get more of an understanding. That's my goal to more deeply understand the back end by this time next week. With Nugget, my goal is to just continue tweeting on Twitter. That's my new marketing thing, and some indie hackers. So just keep marketing and getting
I
more
saw
people.
you tweeting more recently. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That's it. That's me. How about you?
cool. Um, let's see here. So since I've got the new mic, I am more
Ooh.
motivated than ever to record screencasts. And I started one other thing I didn't mention, which is I started a free series at the same time as my paid one. So I'm doing a paid series on Absinthe GraphQL library for Elixir, and I did a YouTube video which actually got crazy good traction compared to my normal ones.
Okay.
Where I was just like, hey, this is just a quick update. One, I got a new microphone. Two, I've started this paid series on Absinthe. And three, I'm not going to leave the rest of the YouTube channel hanging. I'm gonna, I'm gonna still put some videos out here that are free for everyone. You have 2 days left to vote on what you want me to work on next using that requests page I've got on Alchemist
Hmm.
Camp.
Yeah.
And a whole bunch of people just like requested things in the comments on YouTube, or not a whole bunch, but some did, which obviously is not what I asked them to do. But a whole bunch of people went to the request page and started voting, and the video got good traction too. So that put the Ecto series, which I already said I was interested in doing. That's Ecto is the main database library for Elixir. So that put the Ecto series on top. So I accepted that. So that means I'm making free videos teaching about the most common, basically the only database library many Elixir devs use,
Mm.
at the same time as I'm making premium videos on a GraphQL library. And the two
Okay,
topics are
cool.
kind of related. Like
Mm.
actually, if you don't understand Ecto, you won't understand the GraphQL series.
Okay.
So got a lot of content to make, and I've also got to spend a little bit of time seeing seeing what's going on the billing side, because I've had two different users accidentally pay multiple times.
Mm.
So I did a little bit of investigation. It looked like they had a single Stripe customer, but that customer was getting multiple subscriptions created. And I think maybe like the modal for Stripe JS is slow when they submit it, something like that, and then they refresh the page, which submits the modal again. Like that's
Okay.
that's not controlled by my server. Like that's just their own injected content.
Yeah.
But I should be able to set up something that will on my end that'll just make it so that if a subscription exists for a customer, no more subscriptions can be created, and they'll make sure that
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
getting
That
that
makes
premium
sense.
access.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna dig into that a little bit and work on Phoenix Igniter, because it's I've just been holding back my code for too long. I got to get it out there.
Hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, man.
All right. So that's sounds like our plan.
See you next week.
See you next time.